I'm just a Broadway baby, walking off my tired feet, on 42nd Street, to be in a show. Broadway baby, learning how to sing and dance, waiting for that one big chance to be in a show. Gee, I'd like to be on some marquee, all twinkling like a spark to pierce the dark from Battery Park to Washington Heights someday maybe. All my dreams will be prepared. Heck, I'd even play the maid to be in a show. Hey, Mr. Producer, yeah, I'm talking to you, sir. I don't need a lot, only what I got. Plus a tube of grease paint and a hollow spot. I'm a Broadway baby, slaving at the 5 and 10, dreaming of that great day when I'll be in a show. Broadway baby, making rounds all afternoon, eating at a greasy spoon to save on my dough. At my tiny flat, there's just my cat, a bed and a chair. Still, I'll stick it till I'm on a bill all over Times Square. Broadway baby, oh, you know how to go. Walking on one Times Street, sounding like exactly me, being a show. Broadway baby, learn how to sing and working for an Iceman like a seatbelt from a Western and a great big Broadway.
Hi, Mimi, you old broad. I'm right behind you, darling. I'm 88, so what the hell? We're both going to go to the old age home together, right, darling? I just want you to know that I think you have always been one of the favorite human beings in this world, and you still are, and I wish you a very happy birthday and happy the rest of your life. God bless you and everybody that adores you. Bye now.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. I always begin by asking who or what are you celebrating today, but tonight we are celebrating the incredible Mimi Hines. Today is actually her 90th birthday, and I think she may even be watching this either now or later at least. So this all began because I got a phone call a few weeks ago from Joel Vig. And any of you who know Joel, once he makes up his mind for something, he doesn't stop, which is a good thing. And I applaud him for that. So here's a very special message from Joel, who could not be here this evening. And then I've got another very special surprise celebrating one of Mimi's very best friends.
Hi Mimi, happy 90th birthday. It's Joel Big, and I'm here at the Plaza Theater in downtown Palm Springs, the glorious theater that was built in 1936, and you and Phil helped kick off the Palm Springs Follies all those years ago. The theater right now is being renovated, In fact, your old friend David Lee kicked off the first $5 million to get this to happen. So by fall of 2024, this gorgeous old theater will be ready for you to make a fantastic return. Because just like the character that you played in The Unsinkable Molly Brown, you ain't down yet, girl. You ain't down yet.
My name's John McDaniel, and I met Mark Sendroff in the men's room at the Coast Playhouse in West Hollywood, California, when I was doing a show, and I walked in and I saw Mark, and I was admiring his show jacket, which he was wearing. It said Mostly Mercer, and I was a fan of this CD, which is so phenomenal. I'm sure you've heard of it. So I asked him about this jacket, and I said, what is this? And he was telling me that he produced the CD, and I was so excited to meet him. I was actually doing a show next with my friend Jeff Calhoun, an Alan and Marilyn Bergman retrospective, and we were looking to track down Mimi Hines, track 6. And he said, I think I can hook you up, and he did. And I got to work with the amazing Mimi Hines in that show. It was great. Mimi's here tonight, along with her wonderful longtime partner, Phil Ford, to recreate track 6, My Shining Hour. Mimi Hines and Phil Ford.
Before we proceed, I want to say to Mark, thank you for having this dream of bringing us all together like this in an evening of love and admiration. I adore you, and I say it with my heart full of gratitude and love. May you live forever.
It will
Now that's the way to do it. Congratulations.
Right?
Wow, that was fun to see. Wow.
Thank you, John,
Beautiful.
for sending that.
Of course. Thank you, Mark, for sending it to me.
I didn't know you were going to use it tonight, and I couldn't get my hands on it. I was thrilled when you started to play that. Wow.
Oh,
Yay.
I'm happy, and thank you, John. Mark, how did you and Mimi first meet?
Well, it all started with my obsession with Barbara Streisand. What a surprise. And as a kid, anything that touched Barbara fascinated me. So I wanted to know about her husband, her sister, her understudies, her standbys, her conductor, anything. And so Mimi replaced her on Broadway. And so I wanted to know who this was. I went to see her and I completely flipped out. She was phenomenal in the role. Just everything that she has going that showed off. And then that was in the mid 60s that I saw her. And then in 1979, a friend of mine named Tom Oft was doing a production of Funny Girl. He played Eddie Ryan, and Mimi was doing Fanny still at the Club Benet in New Jersey.
Oh,
amazing.
The headline, we're so sad that we don't have a picture of the marquee, but the marquee said steaks, chops, and Mimi Hines and Funny Girl.
Who could ask for anything more?
And we still quote that all the time. So after the show was over, I went backstage to see Tom, and he took me in to meet her. And I just, from then on in, it just clicked. I adored her. She adored me. She's such an uncelebrated talent. I'm so glad you're doing this because, there's nobody that sings better. She's hilariously funny. She's a great actress. She's a great woman. I mean, the guys, John and Jeff, when they got to bond with her, when they did the Bergman, How Do You Keep the Music Playing, they found out, and, they've stuck around. They know what it's like. John used to entertain Mimi and Phil in his beautiful house in the Hamptons. I remember spending time with you out there, and she adores Jeff. We were last together in Las Vegas when Jeff was directing another show, and Mimi lives there, and so we went and came. But that night, what you just saw, I mean, that was a 2-hour show that I put together, hand selected my clients and friends and the best talent that I could. And if I tell you every single number was a showstopper, and then she came out and it was all over. It was just, I can remember Lainey Kazan coming over to me and said, she sings from her kishkas. And Polly Bergen knocked out. Everybody was just knocked out by Mimi, and everybody always is when she sings and when she's in your presence. She's divine. She's the best.
Well, she's got this clarion voice. Carol Channing used to say that there are performers and there are entertainers. An entertainer, and as I've been researching her, I interviewed her years ago for my Dolly project, but going back and looking at the videos, Mimi was always in the moment, and she also had this abandon where she would just go out and throw herself at the audience, and then they would just come back, and it was like this boomerang effect. And it was just amazing watching her from the moment that they started appearing on The Tonight Show, and they were favorites on The Tonight Show. I don't think there was a variety show through the 60s and 70s that Mimi and Phil Ford did not appear on.
Yeah. They were major. That was how they were discovered on the Jack Paar show, and that put them on the map. And they were the highest paid. She brags that William Morris, her agent, the agency said she was the highest paid act, a personal appearance act at the time for many years. They were huge stars in the 60s particularly, and into the 70s. And it started in the 50s. There's lots of Ed Sullivan performances. They were on every couple of weeks on Ed Sullivan. He loved them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I want to get to you. I mean, thanks for being here. All of you, thank you for being here tonight. Jeff, you as a director, I mean, what is the experience of directing? I would say a Mimi Hines, but there's only one Mimi Hines. So what was that experience like?
Well, you're absolutely right. There is only one Mimi Hines. You have that elegant, sophisticated voice coming out of a clown, basically. And when do you see that? And both, she's a superlative clown and a superlative singer, and that match is, she is singular. She's singular. And I just have to tell you, Skippy, what's funny is I can't believe you played that clip too, because that is the song when we were going to do this, How Do You Keep the Music Playing, the Bergman review. I called Mark and I said, we're looking for a mature woman. Do you have any ideas? And he sent me that CD that John talked about, the Mercer, and mostly Mercer. And I was driving on, it's unbelievable. Every song is unbelievable. And I'm driving on the 101 highway in Los Angeles. And that particular cut came on. And I kid you not, I stopped and I pulled over to the side of the road. I called Mark and I said, whoever sung that song, because I was driving, and it was called, so I said something about Not My Honor or something. And he told me the name of the song. And I said, that's the best voice I've ever heard. And that was it. And John and I worked with her and had the best time with her. And it was just a fun experience. And we loved her so much that after Marcia Lewis created the Miss Lynch in our Broadway revival of Grease, Mimi came in, and I don't know how many years, but we had Mimi on Broadway and all over the country for years playing Miss Lynch in our Grease, and we were all the better for it.
And John, I want to talk to you about her musicality. We see the comedic aspect of her. By the way, you mentioned, and everyone knows this, it's legendary, that she stepped into Funny Girl, and critics were saying, without Barbra Streisand, the show would not run. And Mimi kept it running for 2 years after Barbra Streisand went on to do I think she did a couple of movies or something, but
something.
Something. But Mimi kept the show going for 2 solid years.
Isn't it interesting that now they're doing a Funny Girl tour and they've cast a Gentile actress and there's a whole brouhaha? How can anyone who's not Jewish play Fanny Brice? Come on. I mean, Mimi killed in that role. I mean, anyway.
Well, I mean,
yes, she did.
Was it Carol Burnett that when she was offered the role said, I think you need to get a Jewish girl?
That was, 60 years ago. Things have changed.
Yes.
Yes, they have.
So, John, her musicality.
Gosh, for me, it's one of the great voices ever. Mm-hmm. She has a richness and a facility to shade it in any way she wants to. Yeah. And it was so fun when Jeff and I got to work with her. We were in rehearsal and we were trying things, and she was game to do anything, and she delivered every single show. Like, it was crazy. It was just like, how are you doing this? Yeah. But I think it's not only this beautiful, powerful voice, but her timing and her sensitivity and her phrasing. I mean, I want to also mention the records that she made. I guess in the 60s, Mark can help me with the timing, but she made some incredible records with Don Costa, and those are really worth finding. I mean, she is just
they're available.
A major star. Yeah.
The thing about her voice, John, is that she has one voice. She has no break. She can sing any note, either belting it or in her head, and so right. It goes up and down, and she switches just for variety. It's so natural with her. There are Broadway belters who they belt up to like a B or something, and all of a sudden, they switch it to that head voice. Mimi's got, still to this day, she can do it top to bottom and up.
And Mark, I don't know what it's called, but it's just that when she sings, it's just an extension of her speaking. There's no adjustment because she's singing.
That's the acting. That's because she's a good actress.
It's unbelievable. Yeah,
I want to tell my favorite story while you're keeping me in the room here.
Please do.
Show that first stay in the room. Don't go anywhere.
you showed that first clip was Mimi when she did the Broadway Baby from the encore production of Follies. And that was a very starry production, and everybody in New York came to see it, and it was just magnificent. It was Donna Murphy and Victor Garber. It was sensational, and Mimi was really great. And that she looks upon that as her great return. You know, that's the last thing that she did in New York. So every night I would go and stand backstage with her because the stars were parading by, and you know, she lives in Las Vegas. She doesn't really know a lot of these people. So I see Jonathan Tunick walk by, the great orchestrator of the show, and I said, "Oh, Mimi, you've got to meet him." And I pull him over and I said, "Mimi, I'd like you to meet the orchestrator of this score, Jonathan Tunick." And Jonathan, this is Mimi, and she puts out her hand and she says, "How do you do, Jonathan? Oh, these charts are just beautiful." And he looks at her and he says, "Mimi, it's Johnny from the Funny Girl Orchestra, the second clarinet. We play poker every Friday night together." And she stops and she looks and she goes, "Oh, Johnny, I wondered whatever happened to you." Isn't that great? That's innocence. You know, innocence about everything. You know, it's just so genuine. It was so adorable.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. Speaking of Funny Girl, the tour is about to go out with Melissa Manchester. She couldn't be here tonight, but she sent a message, and here she is.
Happy birthday, Mimi Hines. With lots of love from Melissa Manchester. You know, I saw you many years ago in Funny Girl, and you were just spectacular. And all of these decades later, I am about to start rehearsal for Funny Girl as Mrs. Bryce. So we have that lovely connection now. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But thank you for being a beautiful part of my memory. I hope you are surrounded by love and many well-wishers to help celebrate you on your special day.
Nice.
The greatest.
And here is the current Mrs. Bryce.
Mimi, we have two magnificent girls of the ensemble who are fabulous dancers and singers, and they want to wish you
happy birthday!
Gozaimasu. That's right. From Japan to America.
Wait a minute, one second.
Now it's recording.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mimi. Happy birthday to you. We love you, Mimi, from the Funny Girl Company. Happy birthday.
Oh, that's great.
Have fun.
Nice.
Well, for 1 week, Barbara Minkus stood by for Mimi, and Barbara is here this evening. Hello, Barbara.
Oh, what an honor to be with such wonderful people tonight, and Mimi, honoring her. You know, I've always loved her. Like what you said is the truth. Here is someone who can make any kind of a face, you know, any kind of, and out of that wonderful mobile face comes this voice. And right, Mark, you're right on. No break. It's every singer's dream to have that voice, and she has it. And there's only one Mimi Hines. And how lucky I was, you know, I don't even think I ever told you, Mark, that I was asked to be her standby for 1 week. And Fritzy Burr was Mrs. Bryce. And I was in the wings. Oh my God, like they gave me $1 million just to watch her every night. I mean, it was a week. Every performance was spot on, but it wasn't the same spot on. It was spontaneous and in the moment and genuine and sensitive. And oh my God, I loved it so much. I mean, I was honored, you know, I was honored to do it, just to watch her. I didn't need to do the show.
Now, I want to mention David Armstrong is watching. He says, I'm watching. But David, did you get the link that I sent you? Because we'd like you to come on. David, of course, directed Mimi in Hello, Dolly at the Gateway Playhouse and other productions. So, David, if you did not get the link, let me know, because know that I sent it to you today. We'd love to have you come on and join us instead of watching for the wings. So, Barbara, did you get a chance to work with Mimi again beyond that? I know that you were standing by for her. But
I kept introducing myself and saying, you know, I did Funny Girl with Zev Buffman produced it and Milton Katselas directed it all over with Charlotte Ray as Mrs. Bryce, which was a lot of fun. And in fact, I left Charlie Brown, I was Lucy, to do that show. But I was fortunate enough to do a Merv Griffin show with her. And I was like, I mean, she brought tears. I mean, I just love her. And I've met her and I've talked to her several times. It's okay if she doesn't remember me, but I remember her like everyone, like you and everyone who meets her. There is only one Mimi Hines. There is only one heart that she's got that touches everybody. And that's how she was when I was on the Merv Griffin show with her. It was just
Barbara, it's funny you remember when you talk about the faces that she could make and what a clown she could be. I remember that the show was never longer than when Mimi was Miss Lynch, purely because of all her mugging and the laughs that she would get. Enormous laughs. And our show it was always much longer when Mimi was on stage, and for good reason.
Yeah, and better. Yeah.
they were in the moment. They were
absolutely in the moment.
Right. Who does that?
And if she hears one laugh, that just only revs her up to get three more.
Oh, sorry.
Three more faces. Yeah, right.
Do you have that on film? I'd love to see it.
Yes, we have her little clips from Grease. Sure.
I'd love.
It's on YouTube, actually. You can go and find it.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to ask, beyond, I mean, the performances that you've appeared with her or worked with her, Mark, is there a particular performance or an appearance that stands out above all others for you?
Well, what you showed from my 50th birthday party stands out. That's something that even in her mind, you know, we all flipped out over that. But there was a TV special that she and Phil did while she was doing Funny Girl. You know, there isn't that much of their act that survives, but they did a 30-minute special on WGN in Chicago in 1967, and a copy survives. And in that, she sings "Music That Makes Me Dance" and some of the stuff that she and Phil did from the act. You know, Phil, people don't really know much about Phil, but he was responsible for creating that act. He did everything. The guy, he played piano, he played clarinet, he played drums, he tap danced, he acted, he sung, he wrote the act. The two of them would just improv, and then he would turn that into an act. He really was responsible for her career up until into the 70s. In any event, that special where the two of them sing some of their highlights of their act, that stands out as a televised performance.
And John, same question.
Oh gosh, well, you know, you mentioned Hello Dolly at Gateway. I got to see that production, and it was so much fun. Yeah. Mimi just was.
There's the director now.
The director, right on cue. Hello.
It was such a good production. She was just fab. Hi, David.
Hello, David. I'm glad you finally got here. I don't know what happened, but you're here now. So, David, how did that production of Hello Dolly come about? And you went on to direct her in other productions as well.
No.
Sorry about that.
Uh-oh.
David?
Are you hearing us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
How did the production come about?
You know, I had directed Mimi prior to that. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm getting feedback. Yeah, I was in the show. Why are we getting this loop?
David,
if you have headphones.
David, if you have anything else open, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I don't. Hold on, let me get headphones.
I've worked with that sound man.
Yes. So.
Yeah. Couple of times.
Well, while we're waiting for him to set up, I've got another message here. I mean, because Mimi, of course, she toured with Nonsense and had a great time. And here's a special message from Danny Goggin.
Happy birthday, Mimi, from New York City. I wish I could be out there celebrating with you, but you know I'm out there in spirit. And I have a friend who would like to say something too.
Happy birthday, Mimi! I sure do miss having your hand up my dress 8 times a week.
Happy birthday. We love you.
With Georgia Engel.
Georgia Engel.
Lee Merriweather. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So, David, did we lose him, or I think he disappeared? Well, I have someone else who's been waiting patiently in the wings, and this is David. Did we lose him, or I think he disappeared? Well, I have someone else who's been waiting patiently in the wings, and this
Tony, do you have anything else open?
him, or I think he disappeared. Okay, Tony, turn off any other windows that you have open, because we're gonna get the feedback. Because if you were watching the show on another device, we're going to get feedback. So I'm going to try to bring you back on in a moment. David?
Hello. Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Great. Yes, I had it on. It was playing at the same time I was talking, which was the big problem there. So to answer your question, I had done a production at the Kennedy Center with Mimi of a Rodgers and Hart review called This Funny World, I think was the name of it. And so that's where I first got to work with Mimi. It was an incredible experience and got to know her quite well doing that. Peter Howard was the musical director of that, the great Peter Howard, and had done some amazing arrangements for the show. So when I got asked to do the show at Gateway, we started brainstorming about who should we get to, be Dolly. And we talked to Mark about it as well. And it was sort of a wild idea. Would Mimi come to do it there? Would Mimi and Phil come to do it there? And that was quite the amazing thing. But of course, they had toured in it and done it over and over again. But they said yes. And we ended up within this little summer stock theater with two of the greatest stars of Hello, Dolly ever to play Dolly and Horace in that production.
Wow.
And you went on to do other productions with her beyond that as well.
Absolutely. Probably my greatest two memories. She appeared as Bertha in Pippin at the Fifth Avenue Theater, where I was the artistic director and I directed that show. And of course, she was sensational. But my greatest memory, and unfortunately, there's no videotape to this day. Mark Sendroff is mad at me because we did not videotape the very final performance. It was the 75th anniversary of the Fifth Avenue Theater, of the building of the Fifth Avenue Theater. And we invited all kinds of people back, including Mimi and Phil, who had appeared there. And it was the very last time they ever appeared together on stage. They did about 20 minutes of their old acts, all the routines, the mouse, you name it, they were doing it, the vaudeville bit, the vaudeville section. It was phenomenal. And it was such a privilege to be there. Number one, to be in rehearsal, which was the most thrilling part of it, to be rehearsing with them and with the orchestra and everything and putting it all together. And then, of course, the performance was amazing as well. But I will never forget that night, that appearing. Of course, nobody knew it was going to be the last time that they would appear together, but that's what it turned out to be. And it was like they were 22 again.
David, if you could talk about the experience for yourself directing Mimi Hines. I mean, who is this powerhouse to begin with?
You always go into these situations, because if you haven't worked with them before. Once I'd gotten to, Pippin, I knew Mimi, very, very, very well. So we had a working relationship and it was very fun. But the first time, you're just not sure what a star is going to be like. You know who they are, you know what they've been able to do. But Mimi is the salt of the earth from the very first time you meet her. You're at the 2 minutes into rehearsal. She's like, tell me what to do. And, you immediately start to collaborate in that kind of way, which was so much fun. There's no attitude for Mimi whatsoever. There's no, she's like a sponge. She's very eager to do it a new way, perhaps do something new that she hasn't thought of before, to find a new way to do it. She is in that way so brilliant because she really is a singing actress. Every moment of her performance is so brilliantly acted at the same time that it's so brilliantly sung. And she's one of those amazing people that her voice just got better and better and better over the years, deeper and deeper and deeper. But that was thrilling as well. That low register that Mimi, tapped into in later in life was, I think, as equally thrilling as any way that she sang, in the previous, 40 years. Just
her
phenomenal.
voice it seems to me as if her voice just got clearer and just better and better as she got older.
Absolutely. And she always had this incredible range, but then that low range just got so rich and beautiful and spectacular. Yeah. And to have her sing a song like, I know it's Mark's favorite, but This Funny World, or no, what's the one? Now I've forgotten it.
It amazed.
She sang it. No, the one she sang on your album.
My Shining Hour.
My Shining Hour. She sang that at the 75th anniversary. Just so thrilling and amazing.
It is.
But then to listen to those early years where she sings in that gorgeous soprano, Till There Was You. Unbelievable.
Also, in a comedy sketch, there's a bunch of variations on YouTube. She winds up, they do a sketch and she winds up dying and she winds up singing Un bel dido. Am I saying that even close? But in a high coloratura. I mean, it's not just a head voice. She had that whole thing on top. And she still goes into the head voice. It's still there.
Absolutely. I've got another message. This is from Frank Fiore, who could not be here tonight, but he sent a little clip.
Hi, Mimi. Happy birthday to you. We love you. We're sending you hugs and kisses from Port St. Lucie. We wish you were here with us right now in our guest room. We'd go eat some lobster for your birthday. Anyway, we think of you all the time, and I want to thank Mark and Richard for including me in this celebration of your birthday. Love you. Hope I see you soon. Mwah.
We should say that Frank is a conductor and conducted Phil and Mimi when they opened for Anthony Newley at the North Shore Music Circus, late in their career, kind of around the time David was saying, it was their last professional engagement like that. And Frank conducted, and it was also in Provincetown when they appeared together. They're very close friends. And I hope you're watching me. I know how you love Frank. So
he's the best. And Tony,
very close friends. And
hello, Tony.
I hope you're watching me. I know how you love Frank. So
Tony, we're getting feedback on everything. So you've got windows open. You got to turn your sound down. Something, otherwise everything's going to repeat. Can you hear me, Tony? Not if you can. I'm going to try this one more time. Can you hear me, Tony? Not. We're getting a lot of feedback with him. Tony, turn your sound down because we're getting everything's going to repeat. But I thought it'd be fun. I've got another great clip that I want to share. This is Mimi on the Ed Sullivan Show, and we'll come and we'll talk about this on the other side of this. Here it is, the great Mimi Hines.
And now at the world famous Winter Garden on Broadway, this brilliant comedienne Mimi Hines is stopping the show as the funny girl who succeeded Barbara Streisand.
How many order arms? Roll call. I'm Private Smith from Kansas. I'm Private Jones from Arkansas. I'm Private Ryan from Maine.
I'm Private Burke from Wisconsin. I'm Private O'Brien from Texas. I'm Private Munns from Michigan.
I'm Private Schwartz from Rockaway. And I guess you've heard reports that the Kaiser ran the block away. When I told him, here comes Schwartz. And when I get mad, believe it, Jack, out of nowhere comes a maniac. A kick in the foot, a shot in the pants, I'm not gonna give him my second chance. Schwartz from Rockaway. Private Schwartz, Private Schwartz, Private Schwartz from Rockaway. Mademoiselle from Armentiers, and my bagels gave a spin. She said, Private Schwartz, come closer, dear. What a Simmons I got in. When you're fighting for democracy, all on Irving Schwartz and company. I'm true and true, red, white and bluish. I talk this way because I'm British. Who are you now? Now that you're mine, are you something more than you were before? Are you warmer in the rain? Are you stronger for my touch? Am I giving too little by my loving you too much? How is the view? Sunny and green. Now that you've walked in the door and through my dream, I know I am better and braver and surer too. But you, are you now? Who are you now? Are you someone better for
Wow.
There you go.
She's just
Amazing.
giving it. I fingers crossed that we're going to get Tony back on here again. Tony, I fingers crossed. He has a window open somewhere, and we're getting feedback. It will throw everything off. So
there's a certain continuity to the program.
yes, it's a little it's a little delayed there, but I want to bring him on, but it's a little delayed there. See, we're getting something is there's a delay, and he's coming in after the fact. So, Mark, when was the last time that you saw Mimi?
Maybe a year ago. I spoke to her today, and she was very excited about this, but she came to visit me about a year ago. We spent a few days.
John?
Nice. I'm trying to remember when the last time was. One of the great joys in my life, though, was back in LA days. I did a big Julie Stein Actors Fund benefit. I had a 32-piece orchestra on stage, and I got to orchestrate the music that makes me dance for Mimi. I did an arrangement, and it was a sublime experience. And strangely, in that very same benefit, Melissa Manchester sang Cornet Man. How weird is that? Anyway, it was, but she's just a joy. And she's borrowed that orchestration and used it other places, I think, since then, which makes me happy.
And I just want to add, to hear her sing with an orchestra is such a pleasure, because at that 75th anniversary, we pulled out these old charts. Who had done those charts? Do you remember, Mark?
A lot of them were Don Costa, but Cy Oliver and a lot of the people who were the major players back in the 60s.
And it was so thrilling to hear. I know it was thrilling for her to get to sing them again with a full. We had 30 pieces or whatever for that special night, and to hear those arrangements with that full orchestra and to hear her, of course, was amazing.
Jeff, when was the last time that you directed Mimi?
Oh, I don't think since Grease that Marcus or anything. I don't know. We must have done some benefits or something, but I'm obsessed with what Mark said earlier, Skippy, about how under-celebrated Mark says that Mimi is. And then I couple that with David talking about her being the salt of the earth. And I'm just wondering and then you see that clip on, just how brilliant she is. And you have to ask yourself, it's a tough business. Is she just too nice? Do you know what I mean? She's just the most loving, sweetest person. And maybe, this business is a really cutthroat business, and she's not cutthroat.
She also took herself out of the running to a certain extent by living in Vegas, because after the years were over where she could actually make a living performing, and she and Phil did like 2 or 3 years in a row at the Desert Inn, like every night. It wasn't just that we had an engagement. They were the standing act, and they opened for Johnny Mathis, and they played Rosemary Clooney. They were huge Vegas stars, and that's where she built a life. And then all of a sudden it stopped, and she couldn't really come to New York or come to LA. So occasionally, like she had a thing on Frasier, because God bless him, Jeff Richman and David Lee love her, and so they created that. And she did on the 20th Century Live with Carolee Carmello, and that was also David Lee, because he loves her, and so he directed her in LA, and he also did a Pippin with her there. And you guys, you rescued her and brought her back for Grease, and she toured in Grease. I remember her telling me there was an understudy that was touring around with it, and she's so great. And I told her she was going to be a big star, and that turned out to be Sutton Foster. You got her first because you cast her, but as soon as she met her, Mimi knew she was going to be a star.
She knew.
She doesn't have that. She misses show business so much because she's not really working very much now, but she doesn't have that cutthroat instinct and how to stay in it and how to survive amongst the very few opportunities for women of her age that are available.
Well, I want to address that in a moment, but again, Tony.
Yes.
I think we fixed the issue. There we go.
I think we finally.
Finally. Hello, Tony. Welcome to the show, and thanks for your patience tonight. First of all, Tony is with the Comedy Museum up in Jamestown. And you have a very special announcement tonight. Tell us a little bit about your history with Mimi Hines.
Well, we go back a long time. I go back with her and Phil. I'm the president of the National Comedy Hall of Fame Museum, which is the official museum of comedy history for the United States. And I did a lot of interviews back in the 70s for George Burns and Art Carney and all those great comedians. So I can say from experience that I know when somebody's timing is great, when somebody's a great comedian. Mimi just rolled me over. She's just terrific. I got a million Phil Ford, Mimi stories to tell, but I'll try to be brief. It's wonderful to see these other people that love Mimi like I do, and especially Mark Sandorf. It's funny because I haven't seen him in 30 years, and the guy looks exactly like I remember. He's even wearing the same shirt. But Mimi was doing Grease on Broadway, and she called me and she said, "You got to come. I get you a few tickets." So I was at the Friars Club. I invited two lovely ladies that were there with me. We went to see Grease. We're sitting there near the aisle. On one lady on my left, another lady on my right. Mimi comes by and she's blowing the whistle, which was like an opening thing where she's playing the character of the principal. She's in character, and she comes by our aisle. She looks at me, and I'm chewing gum. She said, young man, don't you chew gum in high school. And she tapped the lady near the edge of the aisle and said, open your hand. And the woman opened her hand. She goes, okay, spit out that gum. I spit out the gum into the lady's hand. Mimi left. Mimi, you never knew that lady was Joan Benny. That was Jack's daughter. And she didn't know what to do with that gum and that spit in her hand for the rest of the show.
Great story.
Mimi was just wonderful. I said, Mimi, you're aging so gracefully. And she said, yes, but there are some problems. I said, what's that? She says, when I lean down to fix the strap on my shoe, I say to myself, what else can I do while I'm down here? She had this wonderful sense of humor, and I enjoyed her very much. And I have a special surprise for you, Mimi. Can I give her the surprise, Richie?
You can get the surprise, and
Okay.
I've got a chyron at the bottom of the screen, but I'll let you give the surprise first.
Okay. Mimi, we've given a lot of thought to how to honor you in a very special way, and we've come up with a tremendous idea. We're going to name the theater at the National Comedy Hall of Fame Museum, which has been known as the Comedy Hall of Fame Theater, the Mimi Hines Comedy Theater. And
I love
that will go on in
that.
perpetuity. It's connected to the library, so a lot of young comedians have been coming to the museum. They get to see old clips of comedians from the 20s, 30s, 40s. So it's a learning experience. And while they're there, they're going to be at the Mimi Hines Comedy Theater. So that's our way of saying thank you for so many years of laughs and how graceful you've always been. There's an old Italian saying, it's chi trova un amico trova un tesoro. One who finds a friend finds a treasure. That's what you've been to me.
Wow. And
Beautiful.
we have these two great pieces of art that have been created.
Yes, that's the theater.
You want
That picture was moving day in Funny Girl. That was her sitting on a bunch of suitcases. They moved to 3 different theaters on Broadway, and that was when the day they packed everything up and they were moving to the next theater.
Those are the two different images that, and we're going to let Mimi's fans decide which one to use. They're going to email us at comedyhall@aol.com, and they're going to tell us which one they like, the first or the second one, and that's the one we'll go with.
Oh, I love that one. That is charming.
Yeah.
So Marianne Lapinto, who also could not be here tonight, but she tells this great story. Marianne helped her move from the Winter Garden. They went across the street to the Broadway Theater. She got Ethel Merman's dressing room at the Broadway Theater. I think that this was right after, I think it was right after Gypsy. And she was moving in, and they were taking everything in, and or was it? Did she do Annie Get Your Gun there as well?
No. But Marianne could have taken that very picture if she was with her on the moving day. Somebody took that picture, and Marianne's a photographer. Maybe she took
Yes, maybe she took that picture. Well, I just want to say I didn't have the experience of working with Mimi like the rest of you did. But years ago, Mark introduced me to Mimi, and I got the opportunity to interview her. And David, she thought the world of you, by the way. She just raved about you as a director. And she was just so forthcoming and honest with me. And after the interview was over, she said, now turn the recorder off and let's just dish. And she told me about the directors that she didn't enjoy working with. None are here, by the way. But she was just absolutely, just that afternoon,
Real.
talking with her was absolutely incredible. So thank you for that, Mark. And Mark, how lucky she is to have you as a friend, and to, I believe that as long as we continue to keep the music playing and we keep doing it, she's very much about to walk through the stage door and walk out on stage again. We all love Mimi Hines.
Yes, we do.
Indeed, we do. Happy birthday, memes.
So don't go anywhere yet. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word tonight. It could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message you want to leave either with Mimi or anyone watching. And I'll start with you, Barbara, after I finish, and then you'll pick the next person, and so on and so on. And Mark, I think it's appropriate that you have the final word tonight for Mimi. So we'll go in that direction. Everybody, go out and listen to the music. Thanks to YouTube, a lot of her performances are there. So go out, celebrate Mimi, not only today, but tomorrow and every day. Mimi, I love you. You're like a fine wine. You just get better and better with age. And we miss you. And I hope that you and I get a chance to talk in the next day or so. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you all for watching. And now, Barbara, I'm turning it over to you.
Well, first of all, I'm so honored to be here with all of you, all these people here. You know, I'm just a little part of her life. But you mean so much to me, because as an actress and a singer and a comedienne, I saw someone who really did it. You are the real deal. Every time I saw you, and I was standing there next in the side, I just couldn't get over. This is the real thing. This is what every actor wishes they could be. And some of us maybe aren't, but you are, and you're the shining star. Thank you so much, and I'm honored to be here. Happy birthday.
Who are you going to throw it to, Barbara?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm David.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, you know, something I'm obsessed with about Mimi is that, and Mark just mentioned Anthony Newley a while ago, she and Phil did Roar of the Grease Paint in summer stock with Mimi playing the little chap. No, what's the character? That's the wrong character. That's the other show. But playing the Anthony Newley role in that. And that's something I want the time machine for, to go back. Of course, she recorded many of those songs, but that's what I want to see, is just what was that like to see Mimi play Anthony Newley's part and sing it better, I'm sure. So that's what I took away from this conversation today, is it just reminded me of that. And Mimi, I love you. I would love to work with you any day, anytime, anywhere. I'll be there. Thank you so much. I'll send it to Tony.
Well, you know, Mimi, it was just wonderful. You remember you stayed at my house a number of times, and I remember one specific time that you stayed there. We went down to my basement, which is set up like a studio, and we sang doo-wop. And it was you and I, and the other fellow that was singing with us was Hugo Zucchini, a member of the famous Flying Zucchini Brothers, the circus act. The thing was that he didn't know who you were. He had no idea who you were. And after we finished singing in the still of the night with all of us doing doo-wop, later on that evening, he said to me, he said, "That lady's got talent. She's going to go somewhere in this business." So I thought you'd like to know that was Hugo Zucchini, the human cannibal at that time. Mimi, look forward to ever seeing you again. Hope so. Bye-bye.
Wow.
Go ahead, Mark. It's yours.
It is?
Mark's
Okay.
going last. Mark's last.
Oh, Mark's last. Okay. He's the headliner. Jeff.
Thank you, Tony. Well, I second what everyone has said. For those that don't know, Mimi, I encourage you to discover her. Even though I've only done 2 shows with Mimi, my affection for her is much greater than one would think with only 2 encounters. I love you deeply, Mimi. I'm a huge fan of yours, as you know. You are my favorite singer, and you probably always will be. And I'm just wishing you the best birthday. And I genuinely love you. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Happy birthday.
Bye, Jeff.
Beautiful. All right, I'll go. Mark is last. So I did remember the last time I saw Mimi, but I wanted to say the first time that Jeff and I brought Mimi to LA from Vegas to do the Bergman review. We all went out for drinks after the first rehearsal, and we had Corona with lime. I'll never forget it. And I can't have a Corona with lime without thinking about you, Mimi. And the last time I saw you was just a few years ago. I brought you to the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, where you captivated our audience with your club act. I got to play for you, and we had such a great reunion. It remains one of the highlights of my life. So you know I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Well, since I have a captive audience of Mimi Hines fans, the one thing we didn't get to say is that there's a beautiful website that I helped to construct and I'm very proud of and Mimi loves. And it's mimihines.com, easy to remember. It has an incredible amount of information and pictures and videos and links to other sites. So I encourage everybody to spend some time there. And Meme, I know you're watching, and the times when you say to me that you miss show business and people don't remember who you are and you miss your friends and nobody excites you the way show business used to excite you, watch this webcast again, because these are people who love you and who say truth about your talent and your wonderful persona and adore you the way I do. And so on this birthday, I send you my very best, all my love. I wish I could be with you, but I'm very grateful to Joel Vig and to Richard Skipper for having done the lion's share of this work. And I'm grateful that there are clips and recordings that can show people who different generation or people who don't really remember the greatness that is Mimi Hines. We love you. This was a wonderful hour of celebration. I hope you watch it over and over. Lots of love, Memes. And that's it, right?